Hey, what up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Golf Parfection podcast. And in this one, we're going to go over my top 10 best courses in the Monterey Peninsula area. That being said, I hope this podcast helps answer the question like, hey, if I'm going to go to Monterey, which golf courses should I play? And it's actually not as straightforward as, just playing my top 10 list. There's actually nuances in terms of like, hey, if I'm only going to I have time for one day, the answer can change compared to if I have a weekend to play or even a full week to play. So if you want to go to those type of suggestions, just skip down and get past the top 10 list. The top 10 list will be in the comments below anyway. But that being said, let's jump right into my list and then we'll talk about where you should play if you're given a certain amount of time. All right, before we get into the top 10 actually, I'm going to go over one honorable mention, which is Del Monte Golf Course. Del Monte Golf Course is actually a Pebble Beach owned golf course. And it's kind of just like a Pebble Beach owned muni. So it's actually a pretty decently hard course because the greens are super small. And on top of that, if you miss the green, there's like undulations in the green that make it difficult to putt on. And so even if you get onto the green, it's not a cakewalk once you're on to get that good score. So yeah, just wanted to mention one honorable mention, which is Del Monte, but let's get into the top 10. All right, coming in at number 10 is Pacific Grove Golf Links. This is widely known as the poor man's Pebble Beach with good reason because it's one of the more affordable options in the area and the back nine has incredible views. That being said, I did say back nine has incredible views because the front nine, which is not really notable, is kind of just underwhelming in my opinion. And it's just like your typical muni that's going through, a city or a town with houses all around it. There are some deer, which you'll see probably on the front nine, but yeah, for the most part, not all that notable. My favorite hole is actually on number 11, which is, a hole which you drive out. When you hit your drive, you hit it out towards the ocean and it's downhill and you can almost drive the green if the wind is in your favor, or longer hitters will be able to drive the green. And it's just a great hole and it's wide open. It's just like a green light go hole, which is pretty fun. One thing I will say though is that it's not always in the best shape, and they get a lot of people playing the course, so it's probably hard to maintain, but then they don't need to maintain it in the most pristine condition to attract people to come out there because the demand is totally there. So number 10 is Pacific Grove Golf Links. All right, coming in at number 9 is Spanish Bay. So Spanish Bay is a really big one. Admittedly, it's not super high on my list because I partially have never played well there, and that shouldn't factor into the rating as much as it does. But yeah, every time I've played there, it's been a real big struggle because I do not play well in wind. So for those of you who don't play well in wind, and it's a windy day at Spanish Bay, it's going to be a really difficult course. And sometimes you're hitting out of, beach sand, which is, pretty difficult as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has pretty good views. I think my favorite hole is hole number 8, which is along the 17-mile drive. It's a par 3 that's surrounded by all these sand traps, but it's a really cool shot. And, you're just like enveloped in the 17-mile drive. So views are great. But I think I'd rather play other courses personally because I've been dealt a windy, time every time, and I've just struggled immensely there. And you can see that on my videos if you go back to them. So number 9 is Spanish Bay. Coming in at number 8 is Black Horse. I haven't played Black Horse in a long time, so I've been reading reviews and people saying the conditions have, declined, but I think it's cyclical in terms of conditions all around. But I think Black Horse is really cool and it offers you a real challenge with your flat stick. So if you want a good putting challenge, then Black Horse is going to be it. They had a PGA, event there, and boy, it is very difficult in terms of, if you're around the green and if you miss hit around the green, your ball can roll off. But overall, I think it's a fun track. I need to get back out there to do a revenge round. And my favorite hole is hole 6. It's like an uphill short par 4. And every time you think about going for it, it just ends up poorly, but the one time you pull it off, it's going to be awesome. But it's a short par 4 that is gettable. But if you're trying to play for a really good score, probably should best lay up. But if you're in YOLO mode, just go for it. But hole 6 is my favorite hole at Black Horse. That is course number 8. Coming in at number 7 is Monterey Pines. And so this might be surprising to a lot of people, or people who are like local to there might think, oh, why Monterey Pines? But in my defense, is probably the best value course in the Monterey area because of the condition that you get and then also the price. Right now, I'd say it's probably one of the better, it's definitely maintained better than Pacific Grove Golf Links. and it's definitely cheaper than Pacific Grove Golf Links. And so PG is my course that I rate value upon compared to other courses, and Monterey Pines definitely ranks better. So if you want to just get 18 holes with no views but decent conditions, and you want to go just play golf, Monterey Pines would be a good option. But there's nothing like Monterey-y about it, if that makes sense. It's just a really good golf course in the area that's kept very well, but there's no like iconic Monterey-esque, I guess, attributes to the course. But if you're looking for a value course, then Monterey Pines is definitely that course. My favorite hole of Monterey Pines is just the first hole. It's just it really gives you the sense of like what you're going to get out of the golf course, and it's just straight away. What's there not to like? Course number 6 is actually Carmel Valley. So Carmel Valley Ranch is a pretty pristine golf course, but it's also extremely difficult in my opinion. Last time I played it, and I haven't played it since probably 2020, I just remember, the fairways being very narrow, and then also the greens being like glass. Like, it was very difficult to hold greens, but I have to admit, it's probably one of the best golf courses that I've been on maintenance-wise, and it was overall a really just good time. Really, really cool holes. You're not going to get the ocean views because it's more inland in the Carmel area, but you will get a lot of elevation. So like the back nine plays completely different than the front nine. The back nine is all up into the hillside. My favorite hole at Carmel Valley Ranch is hole number 11. Hole number 11 is just like you start driving way up into the mountains, and then you hit a drive like way out into the, I guess, valley that you are now on top of, like this plateau that you're on top of, and it's a really great view. So yeah, hole number 11 at Carmel Valley Ranch is awesome. There's also a par 3, like a few holes after that you're hitting super far down into. So yeah, the back nine at Carmel Valley Ranch is one for the ages, and you won't forget that course, that is for sure. All right, course number 5 is actually Bayonet. So Black Horse and Bayonet, they are now part of the Troon group, I believe, and they're putting a lot more houses out there, so that might knock these courses down a little bit in my opinion. But Bayonet is, a really good challenge off the tee, always in good shape. And I think it's a really good course. If you want to go back to back like Black Horse and Bayonet, I think that's a good way to do it. More on that later. But yeah, Bayonet hole number 1 is pretty awesome because you just, hole number 1 is like kind of intimidating, and you know what you're signing up for. It's just a straightaway hole, par 5, and it's just like, man, I'm in for a round which I need to have my game on, or I'm going to have a bad time. So both the Black Horse and Bayonet courses are difficult and a good test of your game. If you shoot well at either of those courses, you're a pretty gosh darn good golfer. All right, we're coming into the top 4 courses here on my list. You might get an inkling of which ones are on here. So number 4 is actually Quail Lodge, probably one of the best maintained courses that I've been on personally. And like, just a really good time, really memorable holes, really good conditions. Hole 17 is a really cool par 3, and then up into the mountain or hill, you can see like a house up there. I forget, it's a famous person who owned that house at one point in time, but it's a really great view. Quail Lodge is really awesome course. Would recommend it if you have the opportunity to play there, but it is a little bit expensive for sure. All right, we're getting into the top 3 courses here, and at number 3 is actually Poppy Hills Golf Course. And so everyone knows Poppy Hills. If you go there and play there, I do recommend that you get an NCGA membership because it just pays for itself for one round. Poppy Hills is pretty well renowned. I don't need to give it too much praise. If you're going to the Monterey area, it's probably going to be on your list anyway. My favorite hole is hole number 10, and they used to be switched around. Hole 10 used to be hole 1, hole 1 used to be hole 10, but they switched it around. I'm talking about hole 10 where you drive away from the clubhouse, and it's a par 5. It's a really cool hole straight away, but there's one gosh darn tree that gets in your way that could prevent you from going the green in 2. And I think it's just a cool hole because from a scoring and gameplay perspective, it makes you think on how you want to go about that hole. So also, you're not going to get a ton of views at Poppy Hills, but yeah, definitely one for the books, and it's number 3 on this list. All right. Top 2, in no particular order, but I guess we'll go with Spyglass Hill. And people are probably going to roll their eyes because they know what number 1 is. But yeah, number 1 and 2 are interchangeable in my opinion. And we'll just go with this next course, which is Spyglass. So Spyglass is very special to me. I think it's one of the coolest tracks out there in terms of like actually playing golf. Yeah, definitely is worth your time, especially if you get a Duke's membership, which I'll talk about in a bit. It's going to be in pristine condition. If you can get a caddy, that will always be good. But yeah, number 2 is Spyglass. And for me, all my favorite holes are like all the par threes. All the par threes are awesome there. Yeah, you have the first par 3 that you hit out into the water. Next par 3 is, the one with the house in the background, which is like a beautiful house. And then all the other par 3s are awesome as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't shoot well in the par 3s, but I think they're all notable and they're all great. And from a track layout perspective, it's superior to Pebble. And I kind of just spoiled the number 1 course for me. Like I said, interchangeable with Spyglass is just Pebble Beach. So yes, Pebble Beach is the number 1 course out there that I have played, just because of the sentimental factor. If you don't have like a sentimental attachment to it, like for me, it was like always watching it on TV and playing it on the Tiger Woods video game that, makes Pebble Beach special to me. But honestly, it's super expensive and it's a worse value than Spyglass in my opinion. Even though Spyglass is getting a little bit getting pretty expensive as well. But yeah, Pebble Beach is, the top course for me because of what it stands for me and my, I guess, growing up in the game of golf. But I can see where people think it could be overrated. But holes 6, 7, and 8, pretty stinking iconic. And it's probably like one of the most recognizable courses for a course that people have not played. So because it's on TV all the time. There's a Pro-Am that gets run there. The U.S. Women's Open is going to be run there for the first time. They've had the Men's U.S. Open there as well. So yeah, it's just a top course for me in general. So that is the top 10 list. And this is not definitive. Obviously, this is just my personal top 10 list. Let me know what yours is down in the comments below. I'm not here to say this is like the list. This is just my personal preference in terms of the courses. Let's get to the second portion of this podcast where I'm going to talk about if you're going to have XYZ scenarios, which courses you should play in my opinion. So if you only have time for 1 round, then yeah, you pick, the best possible course in my top 10 list that appeals to you. So I've talked about all these courses. Yeah, definitely. If you only have 1 course, it's pretty straightforward. Just pick a course that you think you'll like, and then boom, you can't go wrong. However, there are some nuances, like say, what if you only have time for like a half round? So like just say you're there with family or something and you're on a vacation and you can only squeak out a little bit of golf. Pretty much that Pacific Grove golf links, the back 9 is first come, first serve in terms of tee time. So I think you can call them and reserve it. And then if you're only have like, a couple hours, like 2 hours tops to play golf, go out there, get that first tee time, and then boom, play the back 9 and you get the Pacific Grove Golf Links experience in less than 2 hours if you're by yourself, for sure. And so I've done that multiple times where, hey, I just want to hit in quick 9 holes because I love PG that much, and I end up doing that. So who's to say that if you only have a brief period of time just to play 9 holes, that would be it. Another thing you can do, and it's kind of expensive, is play the Hay. The Hay is just a chip and putt course, but if you don't have clubs, they have wedges that you can borrow. And I think you need to just like buy golf balls or something, or bring golf balls, but they have wedges that you can borrow, which are tailor-made, and you can go around the course with the wedge and a putter and stuff and go around that way. So yeah, if you only have a little bit of time to do golf, Pacific Grove Golf Links on the back 9 or the Hay is an option that you can take up. What happens if you're playing like a weekend? So a weekend, I would say pick any one of these golf courses on this list, but then try to sneak in a combination of, once again, the back 9, a Pacific Grove Muni, and then combo it with maybe, the Hay, or, play a full course and then sneak in the 9 holes at Pacific Grove Golf Links. Like, I think that would make for a really good weekend. Or you can, just play like 2 courses on here. You can play back to back at Black Horse and Bayonet, or you can play, maybe two of the Pebble Beach golf courses. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the strategy of golfing in Monterey, is like you got to kind of pick where you want to spend your high value dollars, because the golf out there is definitely super expensive in my opinion. So yeah, even like Del Monte is like over $100. I think the only 2 courses that are $100 on my list is Pacific Grove and then also Monterey Pines. And so yeah, if you don't want to spend like that much money, my value choices are Pacific Grove and Monterey Pines. You'll still get good golf courses, but they're not going to be the iconic golf courses with, Monterey Pines is not going to have all the views that you want in a Monterey course. But yeah, those are the 2 value picks, is Monterey Pines, Pacific Grove Golf Course, and then also, I guess Del Monte is on the cheaper side, but all the other courses that are on this list are above like $120. All right, so say you have a whole week to plan out and you want to do like a big golf bro trip. I would highly recommend looking into the Dukes Club membership and splitting it with your friends. So the Dukes Club membership comes with a bunch of things. Obviously, you get discounted rates at Spyglass and Spanish Bay, and as well as Del Monte. But if you sign up for the Dukes membership, call them just to confirm, but you get a couple free rounds till Del Monte as well. And you get 4 free passes to the Hay, which is the par 3 course that was designed by Tiger Woods' foundation or their company. So if you sign up for the Dukes Club, split it with some people, the tee time rate gets propagated to everyone in your foursome. So you get discounted Spyglass, you get discounted Spanish, and you get some like food money too as well. But if you had a week and you had to plan it out, I would look into the Dukes Club and to plan a guy's trip and then split the Dukes Club membership between you and then cancel it after a single year. Unfortunately, the Dukes Club membership has gone up in price. And so I wouldn't recommend keeping it if you're not from the area. If you're from around the area, the Dukes Club is no-brainer. But yeah, if you can, be really meticulous in your planning, plan out, and you don't even have to stay on the Pebble Beach resorts or Pebble Beach hotels just to play Spanish Bay and Spyglass and Del Monte, right? So it's like kind of a no-brainer. Use the Dukes Club, get your free rounds at Del Monte, get your free round at the Hay, and then basically try to squeeze in Spanish and Del Monte or Spanish and Spyglass while you're there. That's how I would handle like a week-long trip there, is to try to hammer out all those things. The Dukes membership also lets you book 30 days in advance. So that's how I would approach a week-long trip there. Another tip is that if you do reservations with Golf Now and you have like the Golf Pass, you can kind of cheat your way onto Pebble Beach. So just say like a couple days you schedule a few rounds and you use it with Golf Now with the Golf Pass. So how it works in Pebble Beach is that, hey, if you want to play Pebble Beach without having to stay on one of their hotels, because if you stay at one of their hotels, it gives you advanced privileges to book a tee time in advance. If you don't stay in one of their hotels, basically you have to call, at 7 a.m. in the morning when they open and ask for the next day if any tee times are available. So what I would do if you're doing a week-long trip, gather some Golf Now reservations throughout your itinerary. And with Golf Now Golf Pass, you can cancel without any penalty. Well, there is penalty where you get your credit back or you get your money back in terms of Golf Now credit, but that's better than just losing out. You can cancel your tee time if there's openings at Pebble Beach. And so that's how I would go about getting onto Pebble Beach and playing there. So that's kind of my tips for, if you have a week-long stay in Monterey. But I mean, if you're already like staying in Pebble Beach, you're already like pretty much aware of this. You're already a baller and you don't need my advice. But as someone who, is conscious of the money they spend on golf and it is expensive, that's what I would suggest to somebody who's coming to Monterey and wants to play a lot of golf, but wants to do it in a smart way. Check out the Dukes Club membership. Yeah, other than that, fun places or good places to eat. I'd say Monterey Fish House is a must. It's like a family style, good at home family seafood meal place. Definitely check that out. And, there's a lot of other things to do as well. But yeah, that's kind of like my tips and tricks, golf trips to Monterey, as well as my top 10 ranking of the golf courses in that area. One last thing is that if you have a lot of time during that week and you have time to drive, guess what's like not too far away, which is Pasatiempo. So everyone talks about Pasatiempo, not on my top list in terms of favorite courses to play, but everyone, they love it. It's Alistair McKenzie and, people who love golf architecture and love a good golf course. They'll go out to Pasatiempo, which is in Santa Cruz, which is not too far away. Yeah, so that's also an option if you're around in the area. If you have some extra time to kill and you don't mind driving, Pasatiempo is not too far away. And then you can start going up into the Bay Area and you can watch my Bay Area top 10 course video as well. But yeah, that's pretty much all my tips that I have for, a weekend trip, a week-long trip, or just, even like a 2-hour window to play golf in Monterey. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that one. Hope you guys, if you have different opinions on the list, sure, let me know. But that's my top 10 list. That it is what it is. It's not the definitive list. Like I said, it's open to debate. Yeah, and I haven't played all these courses in a while, so maybe they've gotten worse or better, or like the conditions have improved or gotten to the point where it's not that playable. But yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Like I said, hope you guys enjoy that one. Keep chasing, and we'll see you in the next one.